In those days, we didn't know, well, we couldn't sample in those days. It just wasn't an option. So we had to play it right.
Ouch. You feel that? You feel that deep in your soul?
In those days, we didn't know, well, we couldn't sample in those days. It just wasn't an option. So we had to play it right. First time.
Swish. Hey, what is up, YouTube? Andrew Rooney here, full-time drummer and drum teacher based right here in Auckland, New Zealand. We are back with the third installment of Eric Isaacson's picks, contributions to the channel. This one is how to actually, emphasis on actually, improve your rock drumming with Simon Phillips on DRUMEO. Guys, we're going to get straight to the pick. Huge thank you to Eric Isaacson for these 3 picks. They've been sensational so far. I'm sure this one's going to be equally amazing. Thank you for your support of the channel. And really importantly, guys, before we hit play on the video, original video link, as always, in the description of each of my videos. Of course, you can go along, watch this video without me interrupting it and giving my 2 cents worth on it. You are about to see what DRUMEO releases to the public on YouTube or via social media. But I am a proud partner with DRUMEO, and through my link, you can pick up a 30-day all-access, free, completely free trial over at DRUMEO. You can learn from the world's best drummers like Simon Phillips. You know, if you're only used to, what's released, for free via YouTube and everything, and, Instagram or whatever, you're only just scraping the surface. They've got some incredible content over there. You will not believe the resources at your fingertips. Go get it for free on me. With that said, let's check it out. This is how to actually improve your rock drumming by Simon Phillips, a man who should know. All right, let's check it out.
Hi, I'm Simon Phillips from DRUMEO, and I'm going to talk about playing rock tunes, or some advice which I'd like to offer.
There it is, straight away. Look at the ghost notes.
One piece of advice, never be afraid to play simply. I think the pomp is an absolute wonderful example of that. There's
such great advice just before he starts getting into the next section. Such great advice. And there is nothing worse than an overly busy drummer who is just,
hey, look at me. Do you see that, Phil?
And it can seep into your mindset. So I can hear and see when a drummer is thinking,
here comes the Phil. Oh man, they're going to get it. Here it comes. It's a tricky Phil.
And it's like half the time it's not even going to come off. And like, I can guarantee if you're not in the moment, if you're not in the music, and if your intentions are not for the music, it just won't work. It just will not work. It'll just sound like a paint by numbers, cheesy fill that you've mathematically worked out to fit. It's like,
hey, did you notice that 5-note grouping and then those 2 kicks?
No one cares. No one cares. Does it sound good? Cool, do it. Does it not sound good? Cool, don't do it. Getting fired up already, and this is really good.
so much tendency to want to play a fill.
Here we go.
When it doesn't need it. There's like, you can probably count them. There's probably 3 fills in the whole thing. There's a bit of a story about that because I tend to play fills a little differently to people, mainly in where they come. And the opening fill, which is those 3 hits on the gong drum,
that's so cool that he can access that gong drum with his right, but keep the hi-hats going. Really, I mean, obviously, you can't do that if you're crossed over unless the gong drum was over that side, I suppose. Just the way he did that was just so smooth. I mean, you wouldn't even notice it, but it was just such a slick little example.
After that record came out and people had heard it, a guitarist named Bernie Marsden, who was in Whitesnake at the time, he said, "Excuse me for saying this, but did you make a mistake at that beginning fill just before the guitar comes in? I went, no. He said, because that fill's in the wrong place. I said, good. I'm glad you think that. It's in an interesting place. It's not what you would expect. You would expect 1, 2, 3, 4, ba-ba, right? But I played it like it was almost like a 3/4 bar. 1, 2, ba-ba, 4, You know, I meant to play it. I never even thought about it until Bernie mentioned it. I went, oh, really? Is everybody going to think that I messed that up?
Really important what he just said there. I didn't think about it. With drumming, you learn and learn and learn. You learn a whole bunch of vocab. You learn a whole bunch of fills. You learn a whole bunch of beats. Ideally, you forget it all. Like it's all in there, and you stop thinking. We want to get to a flow state where whatever's best in the moment, you can play it. You've got the vocab and you can access it, and it just flows out like a conversation. Like if you ever talking to a friend or you're in a real flow conversation with a family member, friend, workmate, whatever, you're not having that conversation going, right,
capital letter, I've got to start the sentence again, and now I'm going to stop, and now I need to formulate a paragraph.
That's not how we speak, right? So we've got to get off the page. We've got to get off the theory at some point. We do need the theory. We do need the page. But at some point, we elevate beyond that, and we're in the music, not nose in the page or nose in a book. Yeah. Let's carry on. I just love this. I love this. And I love how he played that fill in the wrong place, as the person said. Brendan Buckley, drummer for Shakira, when I had him on my podcast, he said a really interesting thing. Now I don't want to misquote him, but it was something along the lines of, he's very cautious of anybody, doesn't matter who they are, anybody who says there's only one way to do things. Things like this are what give it interest. We've got programmed drums now. We can have beat quantized and perfect studio sample sound drums. Anybody can, just on a laptop. This is different. This is a human making a decision and just in the moment, making human decisions. That's what it's all about.
But no, that was, to me, the fill that was needed to set up the melody when Jeff comes in. Apart from that, it's all about groove, it's about touch, and it's about consistency. Every backbeat being exactly the same. If you want to have a friend as an engineer in a studio, give him consistency, because that's really all they want. I'm speaking from an engineer. I know that's what I want when I put up some tracks. I want to see that kick and that snare drum bang on every time, especially the snare, because the kick might be doing some other stuff, but that backbeat is so important, especially in rock and roll.
And that's the other aspect. When we talk about simple drumming, and again, thinking about my podcast, talking to John Hammond, phenomenal session drummer in Nashville, we got into the topic of simple versus easy. There's a real cognitive misfire in drummers' heads when it comes to thinking simple is easy. Oh, I've already got that. I can already do that. Billie Jean, no, I can already do it. No, you can't. You can't play it like the song, because if you could, you'd be playing for Michael Jackson, right? So we've got to think, well, what is it? And part of it is these things, these decisions. Is it consistent? So if someone says, no, that song is too easy, and we say, okay, well, let's record it. Oh, we're going to record it. Oh, so why the hesitation now, And that could be a really challenging, confrontational way of approaching it, but it just lays bare nothing on drums is easy. I keep using the Billie Jean analogy because it is literally rock beat one for, the whole song. Easy? It's simple in theory, and, a beginner drummer can play those notes. Can't play it like Ndugu Chancellor, though. Let's keep it going. going too hard either, is he? I love that shirt.
Now, I know you're all
He's really not playing that hard. So cool. And again, just so interesting. What's Brendan going to say here?
waiting to hear Simon talk about his work with Judas Priest. But before we do that, I just want to make sure you all know about Simon's brand new course inside of DRUMEO called Elevate Your Drum Sound. Now, Simon's known for playing with bands like The Who, Jeff Beck, Toto, and many, many others. And he has some of the best drum sounds you will ever hear in your life. So if you want to learn more about how Simon actually gets those sounds on the drums, you can click the link right below this video to start a free 7-day trial to DRUMEO, or there's a button right here on screen. And with that, let's dive into Dissident Aggressor by Judas Priest.
Hold on. I love you, Brandon. I love you. 7-day free trial over at DRUMEO. Incredibly generous. Who's going to complain about it? Again, follow my link. You get 30 days. Hey? As a subscriber of my channel, 30 days. That is a long time. You can do this whole course. Change your drum sound. There's a whole bunch of courses in there. And this is the stuff that you're not going to get for free. You know, we often hear, I just learn off YouTube. You're missing out on a lot of stuff. Let's keep it going.
Now, Dissident Aggressor. Wow.
Tune.
I don't remember how the band were going to play the tune. Remember, we didn't have demos in those days, or if we did, it was very, very simple. But when I heard that song, I went, ooh, I want to play a 6/8 in this. Double bass drum. And it just worked. It worked great because it put a different spin on that track.
It's a bit of a very Toto-ish. Wow.
Yes, there's a lot more action going on. There's a pretty fast fill at the beginning of the song. One, two, three, four, five. I think I managed to use all 6 toms. Well, actually, I was doing this on an octoplus, so there were 9 toms. A bit like this, I guess. How many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It was always kind of a bit of a challenge, right? Let's see how many I can get in. But I managed to get 6 in. That was quite good. But it worked for the music. If it wasn't going to work for the music, I wouldn't have done it.
Simple drumming when the song requires simple drumming. More complex, more expansive drumming when the song calls for it. This is the musical approach. We don't want to fit a square peg into a round hole. We just want to do the job.
When we're playing the groove, it's the consistency, that backbeat.
And the
know, if you listen to the track, even though it was done a long time ago, there's still, you know, a good hit on every offbeat, and hopefully a similar sound too. In those days, we didn't know, well, we couldn't sample in those days. It just wasn't an option. So we had to play it right. First.
Ouch. You feel that? You feel that deep in your soul?
In those days, we didn't know, well, we couldn't sample in those days. It just wasn't an option. So we had to play it right. First time.
Swish. Love it. That's crazy. those call and response vocals, just absolutely phenomenal on the track there. One thing I was just wondering watching this, I mean, that album was 1977, and I believe, he was only somewhat filling in or temporary at least with the band on that album. How was he remembering the song like this? He must have brushed up for the DRUMEO appearance, unless he's got some kind of crazy photographic memory. That is not the kind of part that you just bust out. Or is it?
One thing which I think is missing sometimes in understanding how to play rock, there's a tendency to play it all at one level. It's not really how it works. There are dynamics in rock. Maybe
100%.
not as much as there are in jazz or other types of music, but there are dynamics. The dynamics can be level. That's your normal understanding of dynamics. This bit is a little bit louder than this bit. Generally, when the singer sings, I tend to always come back a little bit in volume.
I noticed, especially watching this video here, he's never really bashing. I mean, of course, he is a session legend. Calling him a basher is highly offensive, I would say. But he's actually just playing with touch. He's getting like a pure tone out of the drums, and that's it. We don't need to go above that. We don't need to, completely choke each drum and choke each cymbal. He's just getting the sound out of it, and then it's it. And then we can go lower from there. But he's just setting like a really pleasant, he's still hitting hard. He's still hitting with authority, but it's just, it's got tone.
I'm not giving up anything. I'm not giving up any groove. I'm not giving up any sound, but just a little bit to let the singer have some room. That's very, very important. Also, be mindful of when you're playing hi-hat, how open that needs to be. When there's a verse, close it down. Doesn't have to be hugely tight, super tight. It can be a little loose, but be mindful of all the different variations of how that hi-hat can be. My rule of thumb is the verse would be a relatively tight hi-hat. The B section, I would open it a little bit more. And then the chorus, I usually go to the ride cymbal or the bell.
He's thinking like a producer. He's thinking in terms of, raising the intensity or raising the feel, giving the music a lift. He wants to give it a lift for that bridge or pre-chorus or whatever, just slightly even more open. But then, in the chorus and the sing-along part, we're over on the ride. Just absolutely classic. I love what he said about the hi-hat. You don't have to close it tight. If you close your hi-hat tight, if I stomp on my hi-hat pedal as tight as I can, and it's like, it's just like ting, ting, ting. There's nothing there. That's another thing that I see a lot with students. Closed hi-hat is just, it's like binary, on or off. We're closed or we're open. But like he said, there's a million shades of gray within that, and they all offer something unique, and you can alter it. You can get like a nice lilt. I mean, Jeff Porcaro was the master of that, creating like an internal dynamic, an internal lilt on the hi-hats by how tight your foot is down on the pedal, and even, where you're hitting with the stick, with the tip of the stick, the shank of the stick, the heavy part of the stick. Maybe you got your sticks backwards, a la Bill Ward. But anyway, we'll carry on.
That works pretty much in all situations. Yeah. The other thing about dynamics is mainly what you play. Empty out the kick drum. It's not so much about volume, it's about mass, maybe, amount of notes. See how many beats you can get away with in terms of less as opposed to more. The same thing about when playing 4 on the kick. Try actually playing it as 2 on the kick. Just the downbeat. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That can actually sound bigger and more of a groove than playing 4. If you really need to play 4, everybody just feels that you do, then by all means play 4, but make sure when you play that snare drum, just to lighten up on that kick drum to make that snare speak. And you'll be amazed how it will feel. Generally, feel tends to go out the window the harder and stronger you play. If you're playing a take over and over again, and you're not quite getting it, you tend to start playing harder and harder and harder, and the groove goes out the window.
Anxiety.
Try the opposite. Try actually playing a bit quieter. You might find the feel will come all the way back.
So I hope you all enjoyed that lesson
Phenomenal.
from Simon Phillips, and clearly Simon's drums sound incredible. So once again, Simon has a brand new course called Elevate Your Drum Sound, and you can check it out by clicking the link right below this video to get a free 7-day trial to DRUMEO.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely superb. Some real pearls of wisdom right there with the legend, the man himself, Simon Phillips. Definitely some food for thought for me. I really like what he was talking about there at the end about not playing as many notes to sound bigger. This is... There is a thing that happens on drums that I notice a lot, where if you play more and more and more, and especially if you play harder, your drums actually sound smaller. Now, I hope Simon Phillips watches this video, because I would love his feedback and I would love his thoughts on this point. If I could narrow this down to a very, very simple formula about how to sound good on the drums, taking for granted that you can already play in time, you've got good independence and control, light and loose hands, heavy feet. In general, if we play heavy-handed on the drums, we acoustically sound smaller because our kick has got a volume cap. It's got a volume ceiling on it. You know, there's a point where if you just stomp down harder and harder and harder on that kick, it's gonna either just choke out or it's just not gonna get any louder. Not to mention you're gonna probably start cramping up in your leg or your hip, and you might go through that kick head depending on what sort of pedal and beater you've got. So another way of approaching it is, instead of trying to constantly kick louder because, you know, kick sounds amazing through the subs, through the house system or PA, you're playing a big gig, the kick sounds amazing and you want more and more and more of it. The other way of approaching it is, instead of kicking harder and harder and harder and getting carried away and getting like losing control of yourself, because remember as well, the louder we play that kick, the harder it is to place the notes, because you're starting to not play naturally or how you probably practiced. If you just loosen your hands off, the kick will just breathe. The whole kit breathes. And it doesn't sound good. Toms sound good nice and firmly with authority. It doesn't sound good to hit cymbals, especially crash cymbals. We need a law about how hard we hit crash cymbals. We don't need to hit them that hard. They're damn loud. Hi-hats are loud. That's a dominant part of the kit. So if we just loosen up on the hands, nice firm backbeat, that gives us dynamic room to move if we do want to accent a note. Eric Isaacson, thank you so much for these 3 great selections. Absolutely loved all 3. Some seriously good taste there, man. Really dig it. Guys, original video link as always in the description of each of my videos. Please do go along, subscribe to DRUMEO, and check out what they got to offer. And if you would like to dig in a little bit deeper, go and grab my 30-day free trial. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought of Simon's course. Go get it. It's free on me. If you're feeling a little bit frisky today, please do go ahead, hit that subscribe button, like button, and leave me a comment with what you thought of this video and what you would like me to check out in the future. I'll do my best. If you have a direct reaction request like Eric did on this one, the only way I can guarantee requests at this point is via the PayPal link, and that's just because I get so many messages, Instagrams, emails, and the easiest way for me to do it is to definitely reward the people who do support the channel. With all the others, I do my best. I do also have a Patreon. It's just $5 a month, and through that you get access to all the blocked videos. Guys, until next time, take it easy, keep chopping wood. Ciao.